Loosey, if you think you're perfection, there might be a case of drag delusion, girl.
She was fierce competition, but when you play a dirty game, sometimes you get dirty results.
You know, there's this girl I once competed with. Her name was Juicy.
Mistress had already put a target on Marsha, Loosey, and Spice and named them the 3 weakest lip syncers. And she told me that she would do the song that I wanted to do.
There was times where she would act different off camera.
I think that she is trying to get revenge on me. It's playing the game. I'm not insulting her because she actually was pregnant. I'm insulting you because you had a corset on.
Lucy thinks she should win every week.
She kind of set me up this week.
There goes Lucy lying.
There's been a lot of emotion shown from Loosey today.
Lucy is holding back her temper tantrum, and I'm low-key hoping it comes out, baby.
Why did you think Loosey was being fake?
You're the cold competitioner at this moment.
When it comes to RuPaul's Drag Race, there are two big misconceptions among the general public. The first one is about winning. Casual viewers are led to believe that winning equals becoming the next drag superstar, being crowned in the finale, and receiving a big check. But that is far from the truth. The real prize of the race is not a title, it's not a crown, and it's most certainly not a cash prize, which, by the way, once you pay your taxes on it, it will amount to less than a couple of months of bookings, at best, not to mention recouping the cost of the so-called Drag Race package.
I'm very, very proud of my package.
Yeah.
A collection of at least 24 gag-worthy designer outfits, including additional outfits, wigs, shoes, props, prosthetics, and everything needed to actually participate in the race. Adding that to the balance will put a significant dent into whatever is left of the grand prize. The real prize of winning Drag Race is the opportunity to showcase your talents to tens of millions of people around the world and creating a solid fan base. Fans are the ones who attend live events, buy merchandise, watch the Queen's content online, repost it, make it viral, create memes. We talk about them, back up their projects, stream their music, provide them with free publicity through our videos, and even financial support. Fans are the key to a drag queen's commercial and financial success post-Drag Race, and that is the real and ultimate prize for competing. Make no mistake, Drag Race means big money. Even just talking about Drag Race already created millionaires. But winning the Drag Race game, winning the audience, can make your income jump to 7-digit territory in less than a year. And that is just the beginning. To put that into perspective, that's about as much as the average person will ever earn in a lifetime. The second misconception is about what it actually takes to win the Drag Race game. We are told charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, but that's just the baseline, that's just the beginning. Sometimes you can win over the fans with something as quick and simple as a catchphrase.
Miss Vanjie, Miss Vanjie, Miss Vanjie.
Other times, an iconic performance can be enough to make a queen de facto unforgettable for years to come. Or maybe being part of a situation that the audience particularly enjoyed or connected to on an emotional level. In a race where all of the queens have tons of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, you never really know what's going to make you stand out. You never really know what's going to click with the audience. But one thing is for sure. The longer you last on the show, the more the opportunities to win over the audience. Think about it as lottery tickets. The more you can buy, the higher the chance that you could actually win. But there's a catch. You need to be portrayed in a positive way, because Drag Race can effectively damage a queen's career to the point of no return, and if you end up being portrayed in a negative way, well, you might as well cut your losses and go home first. Drag Race is a high-risk, high-reward kind of game. Win and you win big, lose, and you'll end up having to rebuild your career from scratch. So you really need 3 different things to win the Drag Race game. Last as long as possible, be noticed by the fans, and don't give the producers any excuse to transform you into the villain of the season. Drag queens are not stupid, and after years of examples of contestants gaslighted by production, exaggerated edits, fan backlash, and World of Wonder basically cashing their check and looking the other way, they learned how to play the game safely, and they will produce themselves at some level, limiting what they say, how they say it, to whom they say it, or by managing the way they interact in different environments. That's just a natural defense mechanism against the games played by production. And sometimes this form of self-producing is very evident, other times it can be incredibly subtle, but it's a necessary line of defense nonetheless. Drag Race is a reality television show, and if there is no drama, it will be happily encouraged by production or manufactured out of thin air in the editing room. Like the fake plotting against Akiria that was achieved by mashing together different confessionals from Jen in All-Star 6, including one that was refilmed at the end of the season. On Drag Race, there's always been at least one sacrificial lamb, one queen to be fed to the angry public for the sake of drama and audience engagement. And from the inside, from within the race, while you are on set, while you are competing, there is almost no way to tell who the hell is gonna be. It could be literally anyone, even a fan favorite on All Stars. So, in order to ensure that they won't be the ones portrayed in a negative way, some queens might go way beyond the passive defense of self-producing and land into the territory of actively playing the production game, picking on other queens, trying to push them to the point of breakdown, effectively gaslighting them into a villain edit. Because if it's you, well, guess what? There's less of a chance that it could be me. And so once they identify the weakest link, the only thing they really need is a cue to understand if production might be keen in portraying that queen negatively. That's how the Drag Race game evolved into its own version of Game of Thrones.
I think first, second.
First, second, third.
First, second.
I'm very, very upset that I was not in the top. I'm surprised and annoyed. I think that I did extremely well in this challenge, and I think that I carried a lot of the scenes that I was in.
It's really not that difficult to find out the production plan. You just need to pay attention on the main stage. These queens work together all day long. They eat together, write scripts together, rehearse together, they film in front of the camera together. They are on set for 10 to 12 hours a day together. They know who performed well in a challenge. They know who did poorly. They know who deserves to be in the top and who deserves to be in the bottom. But the moment there is a big mismatch between what they saw and what the judges actually decide on the main stage, judges which, by the way, are the mouthpiece of production, well, that is their cue to understand which queens production wants to push and which queens they are overlooking. If a queen that performed poorly or just average ends up being safe or even winning, well, that's your cue to understand that she's been picked by production to go the long way, possibly even all the way. If a queen that clearly deserves to win ends up being just safe or in the bottom, well, tough shit, because that queen is being overlooked and there's a chance production might be actively trying to trigger her. Failing to reward a good performance is one of the oldest Drag Race tricks used by production to overly frustrate some performers in an effort to push them over the edge and generate some good reality TV drama. It's become common knowledge that representation spots are actually a thing in RuPaul's Drag Race. I won't go through the details of what representation spots are and how they work. If you're interested in that, I did an extensive analysis in this video. But for the sake of brevity, every queen at this point knows that the producers of RuPaul's Drag Race always try their best to have at least one black queen and one big queen in the top 4. Not necessarily heroes, but usually portrayed in a favorable way. And there comes episode 10. The interview episode, you remember. According to the other queens, who actually spilled the tea on Roscoe's, Salina and Loosey did the best, but Loosey and Salina will both end up receiving somehow questionable critiques from the judges, from the mouthpiece of production. Loosey, someone who already expressed frustration about being just safe, will end up being just safe. Salina will end up being in the bottom. Sasha feared to be in the bottom, but ends up winning the challenge to her own amazement. And Malaysia, the only other black queen left in the competition except from Lux, and the only other big queen left in the competition except from Mistress, she gets sent home. And coincidentally, this episode marks the moment when things started to really spiral out of control. Episode 11. Mistress congratulates Sasha on her third win. Lux remarks that it's her third Maxi Challenge win. A clear cut to Loosey and a reference to what she said in an episode before.
I already won 3.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Auntie, on your third win, babe. You got it together.
Third win. 3 Maxi Challenge win.
The editors pick up on this and add shady noises in the background and a reaction shot of Loosey bitch-facing, conveying the idea that Lux is simply joking and Loosey cannot take the joke.
3 Maxi Challenge win.
3 Maxis. I mean, I really felt like y'all were like gonna be ahead of me.
Then Sasha asks everybody how they feel. Loosey admits she expected to win. The editors pick up on this as well, cue the shady music, cue a reaction shot of Mistress looking annoyed, cue a confessional of Mistress telling us that Loosey thinks she should win every week.
How do you all feel?
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I really expected to win.
Are we that shocked? Loosey thinks she should win every week.
Does Loosey really think that? We don't know. What we do know for sure is that according to the other queens, her win would have been deserved. But Mistress is here to convince us of another story, and the editors are more than happy to pick up on all of that. Cue a reaction shot of Loosey bitch-facing and Mistress laughing, and the narrative has been effectively re-established. Loosey is delusional, and Mistress is here to tell us the truth.
Loosey thinks she should win every week.
I'm definitely seeing me being this close to a win.
It's the day after, and we're back in the workroom. Lux starts heavily criticizing Loosey's outfit for episode 10, and it's the baby bum gate. Lux brings on her own criticism, and the editors add pictures to confirm Lux's point of view.
I'm not insulting her because she actually was pregnant. I'm insulting you because you had a corset on. So, literally Googled the performance. She was rubbing her baby bump.
We see a confessional from Loosey, but the editing, the context, and timing of this confessional almost conveys the idea that Loosey is just trying to make up excuses. That's editing magic for you. The audience is left with no time to process exactly how hard Lux came for Loosey or why. For the main challenge, we are told that the queens are randomly assigned into groups. The randomness is so random that Loosey gets randomly paired with Lux. If this is a case of production trying to stir the pot even more, it goes nowhere. A truce is established, and the pairs seem to be able to work well together, and even end up winning the challenge. Episode 12, and it's the Rusical. Loosey wants to play the lead role. Despite having shown some problems in the past, Lux wants to play the lead role as well. Everybody is silent, but somehow Mistress intercepts the conversation, siding with Lux.
If we were reading the descriptions of the characters without the names, a young queer kid from the big city.
I understand
I think
that.
that's Lux.
But
And
we
if I
just-
was reading the open-minded
Mistress,
jock
please.
who thinks drag is cool,
Mistress.
I would.
Loosey tries to respond to Mistress, but her line of reasoning seemed to have been cut halfway. And the editors then add shady noises, a reaction shot of Mistress and Lux looking annoyed, and a confessional of Mistress conveniently telling the audience that Loosey is lying.
Mistress. I feel like I have the energy of Heaven. Heaven is very like bright-eyed, super positive, super like go-getter.
My eyes lock with Lux, and I'm like, there goes Loosey lying.
Conveniently, Mistress adds in the confessional that Loosey just wants the lead role in order to win. In the workroom, Lux repeats the same story, and this edit gives even more credibility to the confessional of Mistress that we've seen before. Mind you, the confessional was filmed after the fact.
Girl, just say you wanted the major role because you want to be in the top.
Keeping it 100, it's the lead. You want to do the lead.
In the workroom, Mistress doubles down by accusing Loosey of being fake. And Loosey gets visibly distressed. We see a confessional of Loosey telling us that she has the distinct impression that Lux and Mistress don't want her to have the role, basically in order to spite her.
I just feel like you're not being real, Loosey.
You think I'm not being real right now? This is the most real that I can be.
Just be honest, you want Heaven because it's the lead role. It would be a lie to say that you wouldn't fit the description of tough.
Oh my god.
Loosey is finally triggered. She gives up to the pressure, she gives up the role, and then starts venting about how she's being consistently accused of being fake. But the editors pick up on this as well, and add a confessional of Lux telling us that Loosey is too emotional.
So turn out any fucking role. Someone be heaven, someone be
Fine,
Tuck.
I'll be Tuck.
Yay, awesome.
Jesus Christ. You saying that I'm putting on a facade is telling me that I am a liar and that I am not a genuine person. I have not done anything to let anyone here know that I'm not being genuine with you.
There has been a lot of emotion shown from Loosey today.
All of this basically conveys the idea that Loosey is being overly dramatic for no reason. Not the fact that Loosey maybe has been kind of pushed to the limit and she's basically done at this point. But then Lux inexplicably gives up the role as well, almost as if what she really wanted was triggering Loosey, and now that that was achieved, well, there was no reason to hold on to the role itself. The situation is so tense that the audience has exactly 0 time to realize the fact that we have actually been here before, and we have been. It's the metal gate. Lux wants metal, and she's not going to back up. The situation drags on for a while, with no side giving up. At some point, Malaysia appeared visibly distressed, so distressed in fact, that the effects of the situation will drag on all the way to Untucked, which in all likelihood was filmed the day after, and that's a long time not to being able to digest the situation. So in the end, a decision was made based on a random choice. But the important thing is that this situation, from my point of view, kind of set a precedent for Lux holding onto what she wants without doing anyone any favor. So why did she give up the main role in Wigloose then? Did she even want it to begin with? Or was it just an excuse to trigger Loosey with the support of Mistress? Well, you'll have to make up your own mind about that. But in the workroom, we get a glimpse of Loosey's real state of mind, and she gets validation for her feelings by Selena.
I don't think I've done anything to show anybody that I'm like a liar or like that I fake.
I think what they're like, because they wouldn't be saying something like that unless they saw something, right?
I feel like I've been really genuine.
I think like you let them get to you easily.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they sense and that's what they feed off of.
What's happening is not just in her head. Selena saw it as well. And we, the audience, we get to see it as well. And this was an incredibly curious editing choice. But as we're going to see, there is a clear reason for that. After rehearsal, we're back in the workroom. Mistress is asked what's the inspiration for her role. She says she took inspiration for her villain from an old friend called Loosey.
Where are you gonna pull from?
You know, there's this girl I once competed with, and she would play like she wasn't a villain, and that made her even more of a villain. So I'm really like drawing inspiration from that.
What was her name?
Her name was Loosey. Loosey.
A friendly shade between two friends who like each other's, or a clever trigger masquerading as just a joke? But again, you can be the judge of that. So the show is done and we're back on the main stage. RuPaul asks who should go home and why. Loosey goes first and says Selena. During the reunion, she will explain that she had no idea how others were going to approach the question, naming the biggest competition, or the queens who did worse in this challenge, or the race altogether. So she decided to name the queen with the worst track record, something that we have seen many other queens do, especially in All-Stars. It's kind of an established thing. However, Selena will end up feeling betrayed, and this narrative is heavily picked up by the edit.
Hold up. After you came to me and cried on my shoulder, now you want to say I should go home? Let's be real here. You don't like Mistress and Lux, so why didn't you say their name? Girl!
Everyone else says a name, but Lux, in a speech that appears clearly prepared, names each and every contestant's qualities, only to get to Loosey and remark how her drag is generic compared to the other queens. Now, this is something special. This is a very clever form of blame shifting, because if you name a contestant, the blame of naming that person is clearly on you. You are the one who named them. But if you start comparing different people among them and then remark the shortcomings of someone compared to someone else, you're actually shifting the blame on the comparison itself. It's not Lux that wants to say Loosey. Loosey is just a natural conclusion once you compare her to the other queens. Do you see the difference? because this is kind of remarkable in a way. During the reunion, Lux will end up denying preparing such a speech. However, I find it highly unlikely considering how refined this level of blame shifting actually is, and how well spoken she actually was. But Lux will claim she's just really good at talking on the drop of a dime.
Why did you feel compelled to name check all the girls?
I genuinely do not know. In my head, I wanted to give like rhyme and reason to it, so that's kind of why I did it.
I don't know if I necessarily believe that you didn't go in knowing what you were gonna do, because it seemed very premeditated.
I fully did it. I'm kind of just really good at talking on the drop of a dime.
However, when asked a simple question about her behavior, her abilities seem to magically disappear into thin air.
So, Lux, why did you eventually give the role up?
I feel like people have tried to twist it to me, like trying to twist some like sort of mind game.
Episode 13, and we're back in the workroom. Lux explains her speech was just how she felt. Now, I don't know if something is missing in translation, since English is clearly not my first language. But as far as I know, a feeling is a feeling, like being happy, being angry, being bored. What Lux gave were actual opinions. And here is the difference, because you can argue with opinions and points of view, but you don't really argue with people's feelings. You just acknowledge them and respect them. So by passing an opinion as a feeling, what she's really trying to do is to shield her opinions from any kind of criticism.
Everything that I said on the runway is 110% how I feel.
Now, Loosey defends herself by saying that it's not a bad thing if she is a versatile queen with different talents, and by this point, we, the audience, we should know that this is actually true. We've seen her hold a note reasonably well, do impersonations and comedy, act, and even pick up choreo and dance pretty well. So, she might not be as fashion-forward as Lux, but she is clearly versatile. But we don't have time to process that.
I think I'm very unique, and I don't think it's a bad thing that I'm very good at a lot of things.
I think that Loosey is holding back her temper tantrum, and I'm low-key hoping it comes out, baby. I'm hoping that she shows her real self.
I find this choice of words particularly interesting. Loosey is holding back a temper tantrum, and I hope it comes out. I hope she shows her real self. So according to Mistress, not only Loosey is hiding her real self, but her real self is a childish person who has temper tantrums. Somehow, we are being constantly bombarded by Mistress telling us that Loosey is fake, while she, Mistress, she is real. And by virtue of being the only one who keeps it real, she is also the only one who can tell us who is fake. And apparently, Loosey is fake. Pretty convenient, if you ask me. We're back in the workroom, and it's the makeover and family resemblance challenge. Loosey will pair the queens. She makes her choice, and since she is fake and she plays the shady games, she somehow decides to pair Mistress, a big Latina queen, with a big Latina teacher. She then pairs the teacher who has visible Asian heritage with Anitra, a queen with Asian heritage. So at this point, a big girl and a black thin girl are left. Since both Lux and Sasha are thin queens, she decides to help Sasha and pair her with the thin teacher. Lux is assigned what's left, but the edit picks up on this, and we are immediately bombarded by a confessional of Lux accusing Loosey of trying to get revenge on her, and that her behavior is fucked up.
I think that she is trying to get revenge on me by not giving me the only other black person in the room. Okay, girl, that's fucked up.
The narrative that Lux is trying to establish is that Loosey is trying to sabotage her. Later in a confessional, she will double down on this narrative, adding that Loosey is hurt about her comments and she set her up to fail.
I think that Loosey is still very hurt over the comments that I made on the main stage, and she kind of set me up this week to fail.
Now, the second explanation, that Loosey was trying to help Sasha by matching size, is of course not even mentioned, not by Lux, not even hinted by the edit. But let me tell you something, there is a big difference between avoiding helping someone and outright trying to sabotage someone. I mean, Loosey already proved that she tried to help everyone, but at the end she could only help one girl, either Lux or Sasha, and she decided to help Sasha instead of the girl who has been arguably gaslighting her for days at this point. I mean, I don't call this sabotage, I call this a form of passive resistance. Interestingly, the edit starts taking a shift, because in Untucked we actually see Loosey giving almost exactly the same explanation. Back before the main challenge, out of nowhere, Mistress's daughter randomly decides to ask everyone how many wins they have. Loosey, who finally understood which game was being played in there, finally shifts to a form of active resistance.
Lucy,
Yes,
how
baby?
many wins do you have?
I have 2 main challenge wins and 3 mini challenge wins.
Ooh.
Episode 14, and we're back in the workroom. Loosey was just sent home, and Lux takes advantage of the judge's decision to push again the narrative that Loosey was playing the game.
She was fierce competition, but when you play a dirty game, sometimes you get dirty results. You thought you got me. Whose face is the egg on now? Not mine, yours. But I respect her for playing the game, and I respect her for finally
I was just about to
admitting
say,
to the fact that she is playing the game.
to give her props. She finally was honest.
During the Rochelle interview, while every queen takes the chance to discuss their past, their future, and their run in the competition, Mistress instead takes the opportunity to push the narrative that Loosey was being different on camera than how she was off camera.
It's gotten me in trouble here and there.
In this competition?
Most definitely.
With who?
Especially with girls like Loosey, we kind of had a bit of tension because there was times where she would act different off camera when we're not in the public eye with people.
This statement is quite curious. First of all, it's the first time that she brought on this specific accusation. She accused Loosey of being fake, she accused Loosey of being delusional, she accused Loosey of having temper tantrums. But being different on camera and off camera? Well, that is something new. First of all, everyone will naturally be more outspoken off camera. That is just normal. You want the world to see the best of you, especially on Drag Race, and especially with this fan base. But if a queen is significantly different off camera, well, usually this topic gets discussed much sooner and also confirmed by more than just one queen. Why didn't Mistress bring this up sooner? Why not in the workroom or in Untucked, where other queens could have confirmed it? Oh well, we don't know, but how convenient is that we get to know this in episode 14, in a room with just Mistress, 2 producers, and the cameraman. It seems to me like Mistress and Lux are desperately trying to get their story straight before the season actually ends. And I don't find it surprising at all that Lux said in Roscoe's that she was very happy with the edit that she got. During the reunion, Loosey will be asked by Rue if the way she was portrayed was accurate. She will respond in a way that, in my opinion, was very mature. She took responsibility for the things that she said and the way she behaved. But she regretted the fact that the edit only showed a specific side of her, not the entire story.
Do you feel the way you were portrayed in the competition is who you are?
I think that it showed a very specific side to who I am, but didn't show every aspect of who I am. You know, I know that I came off uptight, but now I've let loose and all of that is gone.
Quite a different story for Mistress and Lux, who will end up taking no responsibility and deflect almost every question. We get a more genuine insight about who played which game by Malaysia Babydoll Fox. Now, regarding the Lollapalooza, Malaysia said that
Mistress had already put a target on Marsha, Loosey, and Spice and named them the 3 weakest lip syncers.
What the hell? Imagine this, okay? You are on Drag Race. You are tired, you are overworked, you are stressed out, the pressure is on. You know that lip syncs are one of the most iconic moments on Drag Race. You know that the Lollapalooza is the ultimate lip sync stage, and it can make or break your run in the competition, because by the end of the episode, someone is going to go home. And while you are preparing, you hear someone naming you the weakest lip syncer in front of everybody else. How do you think that will make you feel? How do you think it will affect your morale and your performance? I don't know how it looks to you, but this seems to fit the exact definition of playing mind games. But that's not all. Malaysia also adds that Mistress was going to pick the song that she actually wanted.
Mistress had her eye on another song, and she told me that she would do the song that I wanted to do, which was Selena, It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
Mistress gets asked about this, and in a rare moment of sincerity, she admits,
My sister made the right decision because I'm a filthy fucking liar. I would not have chose Celine Dion. We would have been twirling to tell it to my heart.
and that's kind of strike number 2. However, there is no mention of naming people weak before the performance or the effect that such comment might have had on their performance itself. Somehow that part gets lost in translation, or maybe it was really there but the editors cut it off. We don't know. But what we do get is even more insight on what really happened from Loosey. After Mistress's win against Jax, she kind of received a cold reception by the winning queens in the workroom, because they thought that Jax actually won the lip sync. So RuPaul asks about her performance, and Mistress said that she was kind of saving the best for last, in case she didn't win the lip sync against Jax.
I know Jax is a great performer, so either way, one of us would have had to go against Sasha and Anitra because that's what was left. So you obviously want to save something you could showcase later and get that upper hand, so...
Now, this makes sense to me, because you don't want to show all of your cards immediately. If you hold a little bit back and you end up lip syncing again, well, at least you have a chance to really make an impression. So I completely understand this, 100%. But I don't really think that this is the case, because judging by what we saw in episode 14, which was an actual lip sync for your life for the top 3, well, there is not much left. And then Loosey clarifies that the real problem was not even the performance itself. The real problem was that Mistress didn't meet the expectations.
I agree with Celine. I do think that Jax won. And the reason why I said at the time, oh my God, I feel like you didn't really give it, is because you were talking a really, really, really big game before the Lollapalooza.
Oh, she was talking a big game. Well, then I do understand that, because if you talk big, well, you're setting expectations quite high, to the point that a good performance might now look just average. Some people might also call this a form of intimidation, trying to portray yourself as incredibly good in order to influence your opponent's performance for the worst. And this is actually strike number 3. This is the 3rd time that we caught Mistress playing mind games during the Lollapalooza. And at this point, it starts to look less and less like friendly shade and more like a form of psychological warfare. Instead of acknowledging her behavior, which at this point has been corroborated by many queens, Mistress deflects by saying that the girls say that because they are not in the finale.
I found it funny that those girls were saying that because none of them are in the finale, none of them would have held a candle to either of us.
She takes no responsibility for her words or her actions. She doesn't acknowledge the effect that they could have had on other people or how they could have made them feel. She basically just deflects the argument by accusing others of being jealous. Later in the reunion, Mistress gets asked by Robin's mom why she basically shat on Robin's wig. And guess what? Mistress deflects by saying that she was in her chaotic era.
Well, there's a very simple explanation. I was in my chaotic era when I first came in, so that was the old me.
I mean, it's a good answer. It's a funny answer. But in this specific context, I think that it's also proof that this is her favorite line of defense. And once more, it's deflection. Ru asks Loosey about the roles for Wiglows, and she points out that Mistress interjected the conversation for apparently no reason. Mistress responds by saying the girls were just bickering, implying that, she was trying to help, she was trying to solve the situation. And this is important, because she doesn't say it, it's implied. But Loosey makes the implication explicit and tells Mistress that she didn't help, she actually made things worse.
Lex and I were discussing who should get the role. I was like, why is Mistress in this now? Like, why she gotta cut up?
I think for me, it was the constant bickering. It's like, girl, let's just decide who does the fucking role. But also,
You made the bickering worse though, girl.
So the ball is back at Mistress. What does Mistress do? I will let you guess it. She avoids answering the question by deflecting with a joke.
You made the bickering worse though, girl.
Of course, I'm Mistress.
So RuPaul then asks Mistress why she thought Loosey was fake. Mistress deflects again with a joke.
Why did you think Loosey was being fake?
Do the whole competition or this moment?
But Ru is not having it, and she asks her again. So Mistress responds that Loosey didn't fit the age description for the role, which I guess, yes, But the question was, why do you think she was fake?
In real life, she was saying, you know, I identify with this character, this is me, but the character descriptions is someone young and all this other stuff like.
So then RuPaul asks Lux why she gave up the role, and Lux gives a very interesting answer.
So, Lux, why did you eventually give the role up?
I feel like people have tried to twist it to me, like trying to twist some like sort of mind game.
Wait, what? What does she mean by that? Which people is she talking about? Which kind of mind games? What is the context? We don't know. But that doesn't seem to answer the question on why she gave up the role. Now, for someone who claims to be really good at talking at the drop of a dime...
Kind of just really good at talking on the drop of a dime. People have tried to twist it to me, like trying to twist some like sort of mind game.
This answer seems to be confusing at best. If anything, it just looks like a desperate effort to put the word mind game out there for some reason. Which reason, we don't know. So then Lux says that she gave up the role because Loosey was upset. That's very generous. Very generous. Then RuPaul asks Lux why she was compelled to name everyone. I like the choice of words. Mamaru is going out for blood.
Why did you feel compelled to name check all the girls?
I genuinely do not know. In my head, I wanted to give like rhyme and reason to it, so that's kind of why I did it.
Loosey doesn't buy that Lux just did it in the moment because it seemed very premeditated.
I don't know if I necessarily believe that you didn't go in knowing what you were gonna do, because it seemed very premeditated.
I fully did it. I'm kind of just really good at talking on the drop of a dime.
Personally, I thought the same. That was a very elaborate form of blame shifting, and Lux was incredibly well-spoken. A little too well-spoken, considering that this is what we got when she was asked a question off guard.
People have tried to twist it to me, like trying to twist some like sort of mind game.
And finally, RuPaul asks if anyone wants to take some things off their chest. Now, Irene picks up the ball. She had filler. She is very open about it, and she was very open about it on the show. Problem is that when she got home after filming, she claims to have received a call from Mistress telling her that Loosey said that Irene doesn't look like she had filler. In fact, her face is sagging. I find this quite interesting, considering that Irene is basically a social media loaded gun. And everyone knows this. She didn't magically appear on social media after competing on Drag Race. She was on social media before. These are well-known things. I mean, even I know that. So this is a serious accusation. Irene says that she asked Loosey and Loosey denied, so she asked Mistress if it was made up or Loosey really said that. Now at this point, Mistress deflects by saying that she conveniently doesn't remember the conversation.
She told me that she would never say something like that, so did you make that up or did Loosey really say that?
I did not make anything up, but
so
you
Loosey,
know,
you said that?
Absolutely not.
I don't even remember this conversation.
Irene replies that she remembers vividly because she didn't talk to Mistress for 3 months after that. Mistress deflects again by saying that she is a lot of things, but she's not a liar. And Loosey continues to reply that she would never say anything like that. So at this point, Mistress replies that she doesn't know what she really told Irene, and she doesn't know what's true.
I remember it vividly. I didn't talk to you for 3 months after that.
Well, I mean, I'm a lot of things, but a liar is not one. That's all I'll say.
I would never say that.
Well, Loosey, I don't know if I said that. I don't know what's true, but...
And then deflects, what a surprise, by attacking Irene, saying that if you only had a day on Drag Race, well, then you all done on what you have. She's basically accusing Irene to make up shit in order to stay relevant. Which is incredibly acute when you think about it, because judging how shady Irene seemed to have been on social media, it's almost credible.
I don't know if I said that. I don't know what's true, but if you only had one day on Drag Race, you hold on to what you have.
Oh. However, isn't this the second time already that Mistress accused someone of being jealous instead of actually answering a question?
I found it funny that those girls were saying that because none of them are in the finale. None of them would have held a candle to either of us.
I guess it is. Now, what's the problem in here? The accusation that Irene is bringing on is a very serious one. So if you were Mistress and if you were accused of something like that, wouldn't you at least try to discredit a false accusation? I mean, if someone would accuse me of saying something like that on the phone, I would be like, what the hell are you talking about? I called you, asked you how you were. You said, girl, I'm fine. What are you doing for dinner? Do you want to come for dinner? And I would be like, oh, sorry, I have to douche real quick. I have a date with some hot trade later in the evening. Bye, girl. And that would be like, when did I say something like that? Tell it to me. Give me the context. Give me something. We see nothing like that. Mistress is like, I don't remember. I don't know what's real. I am not a liar. Yes, but this is all denial. This is not like a line of defense. It's not a good look. It's really not a good look. So at the very end of the reunion, RuPaul asks about social media reception, and Mistress goes on this long talk about people attacking especially her and Lux because they are racist and because they are fatphobic.
They have underlying racism or they're fatphobic or things like that. And I really feel like myself and Lux especially, we constantly are like just getting attacked for just being ourselves.
And while it is clearly a matter of fact that people will double down on some queens just because of the color of their skin or the shape of their bodies, I believe that dismissing any and all form of criticism as people being racist and fatphobic is just another form of deflection, and honestly, a despicable one. Whenever I discuss controversial issues, I always try to take a little bit of extra care, fully knowing that whenever minorities are involved or people that get socially picked on, any mistake that I could make will come at a double price to them. But the point is that being part of an oppressed minority is not and should not be used as a form of plausible deniability to shield someone from any form of legitimate criticism. Being part of an oppressed minority is not a free ticket to end up oppressing other people. Hiding behind real issues that affect our society does nothing but trivialize those issues in the first place, undoing the effort of many people, myself included, who work their ass off trying to give those issues a voice. For a good half of season 15, I really liked Mistress because I've grown up with old school drag, and that's a side of the art that's been a little underrepresented on the show. I connected a lot with her own sense of humor, the way she related to other queen. I mean, in a way, that's the same way that I relate to the people that I feel closest to. We poke each other, we smile at our own shortcomings, we gently push each other's boundaries. I guess if you get used to your boundaries being pushed by people that actually really love you, that's one of the safest ways to test your limits and grow as a person, even become a stronger person. It's a little like reclaiming words, you know? If you start connecting words like fag to jokes made in good heart by people who genuinely care about you, not only you are stripping that word of its negative power, you are also starting to associate it to something positive. So I connected to that way of relating to other people, and I appreciated that side of Lux and Mistress, until it started to look less and less like loving shade and more like active mistreatment done for a very, very specific purpose. Setting up other people for failure, trying to trigger them and misconstrue their action, trying to convince Loosey that her way of holding back as a defense against the edit, something that everybody does, equals being fake. Trying to gaslight her into believing that there is no difference between holding back a part of yourself and actively pretending to be someone that you are not. Trying to convince her and everyone around, including the audience, that something everyone on Drag Race does, which is producing themselves, is something to be ashamed of, something people should feel guilty of, something that equals trying to actively deceive the audience. Mistress made of being real her brand. And that's what she kept repeating on the show and kept repeating outside of the show. But her particular brand of real seems to be based on a very naive and narrow definition of being real. In human relationships, being real doesn't equal vocalizing everything that comes to your mind, including things that people might not be comfortable in sharing. Being real is something different. It means acknowledging your real feelings and opinions, even the ones you might be ashamed of. It means acknowledging the world around you and the people within it, their points of view, their motivations, the way they feel, and the way all of this relates to your own motivation and the way you feel. In simple terms, being real means understanding that sometimes you don't need to say absolutely everything. It's like when you notice that one of your friends might be queer, but you understand that he's not comfortable in sharing it just yet. And so if people ask you about him, you say a white lie, because you realize that the reality of his mindset greatly outweighed the reality of his queerness. Being real means being connected to yourself and the world around you in a way that encompasses way more than simple matters of fact. And most importantly, being real is never an excuse to make other people miserable. It seems to me like Mistress and Lux performed a series of very calculated attempts to single out the weakest link, poke them, stress them, trigger them, while at the same time trying to build a convincing narrative that would effectively cover up and even justify those attempts. In any other iteration of Drag Race, they would have probably got away with it. But for some reason, even though the editors worked mostly in their favor, they also let slip out enough information to shed some light about what was actually going on. And even giving them the benefit of the doubt about Loosey, the kind of psychological warfare played by Mistress during the Rusical still paints the picture that she is the one who has been playing mind games, and she seems to have been doing that since the very beginning. Do any of you remember how it took her a split second to go from calling the twins annoying to becoming their bestie? If the time between the entrances and the moment the queens went back all together to the workroom was filmed in the same day, well then we're talking about a matter of hours. I mean, almost as much as it takes to find out that they have 8 million followers. I gotta be honest, I found them annoying as well. But that was a first impression after a couple of weeks, after getting to know who they are through their social media, through what they do, through the show. I started to find them quite endearing as well, but it certainly didn't happen overnight. Now, I debated for almost a month if I should make this video and dissect and discuss those issues. I feared that many people might take this information and then use it to double down on Mistress and Lux. But I ultimately decided to make it anyway, because I think it's important that what we saw happening in this season doesn't happen again. I do understand that Drag Race is an extreme environment, and people in extreme environments can and will behave in extreme ways, mostly motivated by fear, the fear of losing a big opportunity, the fear of being misconstrued, the fear of being disliked. But gaslighting other people, trying to portray them as fake, trying to trigger them or misconstrue their intentions and actions, is not and cannot be allowed to become a regular thing on Drag Race. And the only way to ensure that it never happens again is to expose it for what it really is, where it comes from, and how it's carried on. And hopefully that will be an effective deterrent. Drag Race is a public TV show, and the queens who participate naturally open themselves to the public discussion and criticism. We can discuss what happens on Drag Race. We can do it here during the live streams, we can do it on Discord, but there is always a difference between discussing the show on our platforms and actively giving these queens a piece of your mind on their platform. I feel the need to say this again and again, in case some new viewers happen to see this video and don't really understand what my work is all about. So please do not give these queens a piece of your mind on social media. We are thousands, they are single people. The effect of our comments, even well-worded and respectful ones, can and will put an immense amount of pressure on each and all of them. And remember that no matter how good we can punch through the edit, no matter how much tea gets spilled online, we are always discussing a show where these people were put under an immense amount of pressure and did not have full control on how they appeared in the final edit of the show. So based on that alone, everyone deserved a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and a chance to prove themselves in the real world, where they are free to decide for themselves what they say, how they say it, and how they appear. And for what concerns Lux and Mistress, I think that they are both incredibly young. They are pretty smart, and I see no reason why they shouldn't be able to acknowledge their behavior and grow up from it, hopefully realizing their full potential as people and as entertainers. So, this video ended up far too long than what I initially anticipated. But I'm very grateful if you watched until this point, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. A special thanks to our patrons for supporting the channel, our livestream viewers on the Chop Live channel, and our community on Discord. You are all very special exceptions in this madness. That's the Drag Race fandom. I'll see you soon, and take care.